I want to go over some Week 2 football games for the Big 12, then rank them from most intriguing to least intriguing. First, the games go as follows: Kansas versus Illinois, Baylor versus Utah, Pitt versus Cincinnati, Kansas State versus Troy. Kansas State better watch out against Troy. Troy's not a bad football team, and remember, they lost it Tulane last year unexpectedly, the American champion. So I'm just pointing that out there. I mean, just beware. BYU versus Southern Utah, Iowa State versus Iowa, Oklahoma versus SMU, West Virginia versus Duquesne, Alabama versus Texas, Texas Tech versus Oregon, Boise State versus UCF, Rice versus Houston, TCU versus Nicholls, and Arizona State versus Oklahoma State. And I'm going to rank these now, and I'm going to start the very bottom from least intriguing. Now, number 14, I have BYU versus Southern Utah. Maybe it should be a little bit higher on this list, but that's not a game that it's notable, in my opinion. Number 13, I have TCU versus Nicholls. Obviously, this is a blowout, going to be, regardless how good TCU is this year. But I mean, it's the truth. At number 12, West Virginia versus Duquesne. Yeah, that's the only gimme win that West Virginia has in the non-con. I mean, that's the only one. Number 11, Rice versus Houston. I mean, I don't know. That's the only thing intriguing about it, and that's why I put it at number 11, which you could make that a little bit higher than the next one here, is because it's in the state of Houston. It's against two teams that used to be in a conference together, in the Southwest Conference, I believe. I believe that's the case because the Southwest Conference, as we all know, existed, but then it got disbanded, and it started when Arkansas left for the SEC, and then a few years later, the Big 12 became a conference. Because I know Houston was in. Yep, that's what I thought about Rice. They were in a Southwest Conference. Yep. So you can make the argument that they should be higher because they were used to be in a conference together a long time ago. I mean, number 10 for me is Oklahoma versus SMU. You could very well swap these, but I just thought Oklahoma versus SMU is just a little bit more intriguing. Just a little bit. Number 9, Kansas State versus Troy. Troy's up there in one of the better Group of 5 teams, but not the best. Oh no. But you can't deny they're not really near the top, but you know what I'm saying, one of the better ones out there. Number 8 is Pitt versus Cincinnati for me. Number 7 is Arizona State versus Oklahoma State. I don't know how good Arizona State's going to really be, and it'll be interesting how Oklahoma State does in this game because remember, they lost a lot of players, and supposedly an Oklahoma State fan said, "We're not going to miss Dominic Richardson. You're crazy. He's a good running back." I mean, it's the truth. So I don't know about Oklahoma State this year at all. Number 6 is Kansas versus Illinois, which you can make an argument that they should be a little bit higher, but to number 5, but I don't know about the top 4. Number 5 for me is Boise State versus UCF. Boise State's going to be a good football team this year, and Boise State has to go all the way cross country. That's interesting. And Boise State, as we all know, they should be one of the favorites to win the Mountain West this year, if not the top team in that conference, and then win the title game as well. Number 4, and it's splitting hairs 2 through 4 here. Baylor versus Utah. Obviously, that game's going to be at 11 a.m. Central Time with no shade on Utah's side of the field, and they're not used to the Texas heat and humidity. And I don't know about Cam Rising's health status as of this time. And is he going to be back 200%? I don't know. Even if he does play, it's going to take some time to get used to after coming back after like a torn ACL. It's not easy injury to come back from. I mean, number 3 is Iowa State versus Iowa. You can make the argument that they should be a number 2. It's a rivalry game. That's obviously why they should be in the top 4. Number 2 is Texas Tech versus Oregon because Tyler Shough, the Texas Tech quarterback, used to be at Oregon. That's the only reason why it's up there. And look, if Texas Tech could win that football game against Oregon, the Big 12 better watch out for Tech then. I mean, it's a church, and Oregon has to go cross country as well. So, and Oregon's one of the should be like one of the better teams in the Pac-12 this year. Maybe they get to the Pac-12 title game. Who knows? Now, obviously, number 1 is Alabama versus Texas. That's obvious. It's the 2 through 4 that's the hardest to decipher. And I want you to go make a list of your own on this, because it's not easy, as you could tell on the the 2 through 4 on this. Because I just think Baylor versus Utah, Iowa State versus Iowa, Texas Tech versus Oregon, and Alabama versus Texas are definitely the top 4. It's the number 5 game that's kind of hard. And this is not being biased at all on this. I'm just being very objective on this, which game is going to be really interesting. What other games are more interesting than others here? Anyways, if you like this content, like and subscribe button. See you guys later. 5 subscribers. We're on the road to it. Let's go. And we'll have to wait and see how these teams do in those games as well. So that's all.